Happy basketball season, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Special episode alert, Eric McLean. And actually, can we tell the people this was Mac's idea? Mac,
What?
tell us why we had to do this episode.
Come on, KG. Well, first of all, there's this little basketball game. It's not little, actually. It's enormous. Probably.
Massive.
You tell me, is this the biggest regular season game of the season?
Well,
non-conference.
Awkwardly, probably not because South Carolina and Notre Dame are playing in Paris.
Man, I don't care about them. This is Final Four teams that we're talking about here.
By the time this episode will have come out, they will have already played. So we don't know the score of that game because we're recording this earlier. But even if it isn't, it's one of the top five. Whatever.
Okay.
And this is what women's hoops does, Mac. We have incredible non-conference matchups every single year.
Yeah. Well, Kelly kind of ruined the intro, but anyway,
sorry.
It's a massive game. Virginia Tech, Iowa, playing in Charlotte. I cannot wait to see this game. Kelly, as soon as I heard about it, I'm trying to buy tickets. I want to be there. I want to support and see this just because it's two Final Four teams. It's Caitlin Clark, the best player in the world, and Virginia Tech, a team that I think is really good. Liz Kitley, I think another one of the best players in the entire world, and just two great teams that are going to go after it. So I had to buy tickets right away, and then I found out 3-4 weeks later, we will be there, partner, not as a podcast, but as ACC Network. We're going to be hanging out, Gramlich and McLean, plus Kelsey Riggs covering this game. It's going to be so much fun, KG. I cannot wait for this. So we had to do a special episode. We're going to jump into this game, and we've got Gabby Marshall from Iowa, great shooter, point guard, doing her thing out there. And then, of course, the GOAT, Liz Kitley, KG. Love this conversation with both these girls.
Oh, man. I was so excited for this episode, and it just shows Mac, y'all. Mac loves hoops, and he loves women's hoops. He's a massive supporter, as he should be, because the product is amazing. But Mac bought his tickets so early for this game.
Might have been the first person to buy tickets, quite frankly.
Maybe. And, Amelia might play for Virginia Tech or Iowa or Clemson.
Amelia might also be at the game. So stay tuned for cute pictures, everybody.
Amazing. Okay. So Liz Kitley, who we're talking to first, she is the reigning two-time ACC Player of the Year, preseason first-team All-American for Virginia Tech. She holds so many records already for Virginia Tech and is the best player to ever play in Blacksburg. I think we can say that easily. Her jersey will be retired, etc. And she still has her 5th year to play. She's also a massive Swiftie, which we discussed. Gabby Marshall from Iowa is entering her 5th season with the Hawkeyes, coming off a national title appearance with her squad. She started all 38 games for Iowa last year and shot a ridiculous 50% from 3 in Iowa's magical postseason run. Let's talk to two of the best players in the country, Liz Kitley and Gabby Marshall.
This is so beautiful. I don't know how you do it. We just got this pipe from Ingles.
Well,
Fire! It's on fire! All right, move it or lose it, people! Get the cranberry sauce!
We manage.
Happy Thanksgiving from Ingles.
Liz, what's up? Thank you so much for joining us. We all know about the amazing run that the Hokies made last year. And you announced after the Final Four loss, a little bit afterwards, that you would be returning for your 5th season. When and why did you make that decision?
Yeah. I think finally I hadn't told anyone until then. So that's even family and stuff. It wasn't public knowledge, but last summer it was probably 50-50. And then just throughout the progression of the season, it just became more and more leaning towards coming back. I think I just realized that all the pros outweighed the cons by far. Having a stable environment and knowing I have a coach that loves and values me and teammates that I love playing with. You're not going to get that everywhere. And I think having the opportunity to do it for another year is just, I'm very lucky to have a place that cares for me so much and that I care about as well. But the final decision was when I booked my ticket to Australia in the spring. And I did that. I can't remember exactly when I did that, but at that point I knew this is a $3,000 plane ticket. I'm not going to not use it. So I had to make the decision and I had to go to Australia. So it worked out.
And that was your trip with Georgia and Kayla that you went over the summer. So obviously if you went pro, you would not have been able to take that trip.
Exactly.
Aha. I see
That's
what you're doing
amazing.
there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, Liz, I've heard you talk about this a couple of times with other people, but coming back and just your personal growth as a player, but also as a woman. What did you, I guess, want from that aspect and things that you want to work on this season?
hmm Well, I think having Coach Brooks as my like number one guy is I'm just so blessed to have that relationship and experience with my head coach. I just knew that having another year of one-on-one workouts with him and film sessions with him would just make me better on the court, but also off, as you mentioned. I think we had a few goals for what I could get better at. I think looking forward, it's going to be really important for me to be able to guard on the outside. So we've definitely been working on that in practice. Also, just expanding my moves outside of the block. That's been fun in practice, so I've liked implementing that. You might see fadeaways from a little farther.
What about the 3-ball, Liz? That's what people want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, he makes me shoot like 1 or 2 every practice, so it's just about getting comfortable with it, and confidence. That's all it boils down to. Like, I can do it in practice as much as I want, but I got to be able to just say, I can't say it on the podcast, but heck with it and just do it.
Yeah, you can
fly,
say it,
baby.
We can put a little E on the episode. You can say whatever you want. Is that difficult though? I mean, growing that part of your game and shooting the ball when on the outside, maybe you want to be on the inside. Is that uncomfortable, or are you just like, hey, I've got to do this to take it to the next level?
Yeah, I don't think I've never been bad at it. It's never been like out of my realm. I think it's more of a mental battle because I'm always like, okay, I could shoot this right now, but I also know I can get a shot down there. Like, well, depends on defenses, but normally like I can shoot a shot that I'm really comfortable with that I think has a really, really high percentage. So it's more teaching myself that it's okay. It's not a bad shot. And just because I take, a couple a game or something, it's not going to completely alter my percentages or my mindset. Like that's just what I have to instill in myself. But my coaches and my teammates make that really clear and make it easier for me because they have confidence in me. And I mean, that's all you can really ask for when you're trying something new, something that's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Liz Kitley shooting threes. Sign me up. Liz, you guys were a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. You won the ACC tournament in dominating fashion. And still, a lot of people did not pick you guys to come out of your region to get to the Final Four. Certain people did, of course, maybe me. But what did it feel like to prove people wrong and really put the Hokies on the map by making that first Final Four?
Yeah. I mean, we said this all last year. We were so aware of the noise and so aware of everyone thinking that we would be the first 1 seed to lose. We weren't going to make it out of our region, blah, blah, blah. Like we heard all that stuff, but our mentality was more of proving ourselves right instead of other people wrong, because we didn't want to give attention to those things that weren't providing anything positive for us. We more wanted to feed into our positive culture and our confidence in ourselves, because I think ever since the Duke loss that we had in January, I believe it was, from that point on, our team felt like we weren't going to lose another game.
Wow.
Like we just had that confidence in us, and we were playing so well together, and we loved playing together. That group is like remarkable, and I'll never forget playing with those girls. So it was really within us, and we were able to just have the confidence and have fun together, and that showed up in the win section.
Quick sidebar on that. I called the game after the Duke game when you guys played at Virginia. And I remember getting there and I'm like, oh, it's Liz and Georgia. They'll want to chat. Georgia wanted to chat. Liz said, hey. And she walked like she did not want to chat. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is
She's
for
locked
real.
in. She's locked
and
in.
I do feel like that game is really when it started for you guys.
Oh, definitely. We had a mindset shift. We had a practice style shift. We had more pads out in practice. We knew we had to get more physical. Like so many things were altered at that point. And yeah, it's nothing personal. I just get really
No, Liz, I loved it. I don't
know, even when I see my face in game clips or when I watch games back, I look like so like bored or like uninterested or just blank. But it's just because I'm so focused. Like I don't show it in like other ways that other people do, but I don't know. It's in there. It just doesn't come.
Well, kudos to you guys for addressing that head on and making it happen. I mean, that's hard for teams to totally shift, kind of in the middle of a season. And to hear that from you, I think, number one, that shows your coaching staff is unbelievable leaders. And then the players to buy in, like you guys knew what was at stake and you knew the mission that was ahead of you. Now, we've mentioned Georgia a couple of times here, so I do want to ask you about that because you guys are roommates, besties. What was it like to watch her in that tournament just go en fuego? I mean, and catch fire at the perfect time for you guys.
Yeah. No, it couldn't have gotten more convenient for all of us, having that she took. But I think we were all just most happy for her because we all knew that she could do that. Like, she makes us ooh and ah in practice nonstop. So for her to finally, get on a huge stage and for everyone else to see what she can do and what she is, was really, really fun. And I think she's left a huge impact now. When we walk around campus, she gets stopped way more than me. Like, she's the fiery.
I don't know about that.
I'm being so for real. You can ask me. Like, everyone just loves a fiery Australian, and her play reflects that. And she's just so exciting to watch. And hopefully, it's a lot of pressure, I think. It would be to pick up where she left off because she was playing at just an unreal caliber.
Yeah.
So for that to be maintained is going to be a lot of pressure, but I also think it's something that she's capable of and something she's aware of. So it's made her work extra, extra hard over this offseason.
Yeah. Speaking of that pressure, I wanted to transition here at some point, and you kind of helped me out there with it. From just a basketball sense in the women's game, you guys are growing this thing at a super high rate. And I just look at basketball like right now, like this class of women and the things that you're doing on TV, but also off the courts, and just the caliber of play is rising dramatically. Do you guys feel that? Like, do you feel a responsibility to, hey, I've got to perform right now? Like this is such a vital part, a vital time in our game to grow that. Do you feel that ever?
Yeah, I think it can translate into a little bit of pressure, but I think we're also just so happy for the place that women's basketball has got to. So it's more of a joy because we love playing. We've been playing for who knows how long, like 15 years at this point. So for it to finally get the recognition and the attention and the love that we've had for it for the last, 15 years, I guess. Yeah. It's just really exciting. And I think, the more people watch it, the more people will love it, the more people will stick around, the bigger the audience will get, the bigger the opportunities for female athletes. And that's just really exciting. I think we're really, we've contributed to it, yes, but we're also just really lucky to be in this time period and to play with some of the players across the country that have so much attention and so many eyes on them. And, obviously the big game in Charlotte next week is part of that. And there's going to be so many eyes on that game, but that's just an opportunity for us, and not just us individually, but just for women's basketball.
100%. And great perspective, right? To look at it as you get to play with joy. Yeah. And you guys do play with joy. That's what I've always loved about watching Virginia Tech. And I also think of, when I think of the joy you play with, Liz, I think of the gallop after you hit the game winner at North Carolina. Legendary, giraffe-esque, some have said.
That's right.
And look, you hit the game winner. It's like, hey, say whatever you want about me. I hit the game winner. I'm good to go. Okay, but you mentioned, go ahead.
Yeah, that just came from within.
I know. Yeah, you know what to do.
Chill.
You're freaking out. It was great. You mentioned other big names. You mentioned this big game, the Ally tip-off on November 9th. Massive game for so many reasons. In Charlotte, in the Spectrum Center, we've heard tickets have sold like crazy. They're going to have a unique court for it. It's going to be on prime time. How excited are you guys? I know you have High Point first because I'm calling that game, so I'm really pumped. But how excited are you all for this matchup and to go up against Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, we have to acknowledge High Point because we played them last year and we did not play our best, and I know they're going to be itching to play us again. So we're definitely preparing for that first. They also play a very interesting style, so we have to prepare completely for that. We can't cheat and start with Iowa early. If we overlook that game at all, we won't win. That's just being serious. But to the Iowa game, we are so excited. Like, I think it's just so cool to be a part of this huge event and this huge, I feel like, milestone in women's basketball. And also just for like the growth of our program. It's cool to experience this with Coach Brooks because he's, come from a place where this never would have been an opportunity for him. And to kind of have come from that also, like my freshman year, we never would have been asked to play Iowa in a primetime game or whatever. So for us to have this much growth and to bring the program to this point is really, really exciting.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question. I mean, the eyes that are going to be on that it's exciting. And, you know, for us to be there in a working capacity is really cool to see that and to see you guys and just get going, you know, back on another run here. Tell us a little bit more about this team and maybe what we can come to expect, you know, for this upcoming season and maybe a bit of an encore after a Final Four appearance.
Yeah. I mean, this team is so different. I think a lot of people don't realize that we literally only have 3 returners on the entire roster that were eligible last year. So having 9 new pieces has been quite a journey. We're still getting to know each other. We're not going to reach our final form until, you know, probably January, February. But I think last year actually gave us a lot more confidence in that because we also last year started the ACC 3-3. Like we had no idea what was going to happen. And that turned out all right. So I think now coming into this year, we can have a little more confidence with the unknown and not be as uncomfortable with that. But as far as new pieces, we have just an incredible shooter in Matilda Eck from Michigan State. I swear she shoots like 80% from 3. Anytime she misses, we are so confused. I'm like, are you okay? Like it doesn't make sense because she just makes them most of the time. Absolutely. Also just have a 4 from Minnesota, Rose Mishaw. And she's, you know, that big physical player that we really need. Oh my God.
Say hey,
And
Liz.
Amelia McLean is
Say hey,
transferred in,
Liz.
who's excited to ball out with the girls.
She's ready. She's ready. Liz, what's your advice for young Amelia here? How can she get a scholarship to Virginia Tech?
If I was a coach, I'd offer her right now. She's so cute.
You get an
She's swayed
offer
me.
right now. Oh my goodness.
I have no power, but I would. Her eyes are. I'm sorry. I'm so eager.
She's so
She's
cute.
so
Say
cute.
hey.
I
You
know.
grab the mic. Say something.
Amelia,
silly.
when you commit to VT and you break all of Liz's records, we will show this footage. And hopefully I'm calling the game.
Well, here's
That
the
would be
deal too, Liz. So my basketball number was 33. So hopefully she will wear 33. Her mom was 15 though. She was a badass player
But
too.
Liz is
so
going to be retired, so
we'll
you got to
see.
deal with that.
Oh, you
match.
can't. So she'll have to be 15. 33 will be
Yeah.
retired, Amelia.
It's going to be tough.
You can be 15.
Poor Amelia. Yeah.
She'll work through it. But y'all, I know Rose is kind of taking over that T-Soul spot, or at least going to try.
Yeah. I mean, obviously those are huge shoes to fill. I think it would be unfair to T-Soul to say, yep, this is the new T-Soul.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's not that easy. But she does provide some of those same traits that we lost in T-Soul. And obviously it's going to take her some time also to fit our system, but it took T-Soul some time to fit
Yeah,
our
it
system
did.
and she didn't understand her role probably until later in conference play. But hopefully she'll come into that and we'll all find a chemistry and a mesh and learn how to play with each other and hopefully not too long, but you know, we can put a timeline on it.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, these early games are so exciting. You guys also have LSU in the ACC SEC Challenge, but your season proved last year that all you have to really do is be peaking in March and you can do some crazy things. Someone who has peaked but somehow continues to peak and will never stop peaking is Taylor Swift. Obviously, you have Taylor behind you in your room there. Liz,
Yeah.
I mean, let's educate Mac a little bit. You're a huge
Please,
Swiftie.
please help
I'm
me.
a huge Swiftie. Tell me your favorite track from the vault and just tell Mac what he's missing. Like he's not even educating Amelia yet on T Swift. Is really bad parenting.
That's such a shame. Yeah, my favorite 1989 vault track is It Over Now? Not even close.
Same.
It's the best one, I'm sorry. But they're all like, it's like, that's number 1, and then the rest can be tied. Like there's no else.
Yeah.
They're all wins. They're all
Obviously.
so good. Yeah, as far as you have a lot of. I would say I know the movie's long. I
Sure.
know it's 3 hours.
Sure.
But if you just went,
I just
and
need to educate myself.
acknowledge the
Yes.
talent
Yeah.
that it takes to perform like that,
Right.
I think you'll be converted.
Yeah. Well, here's
Yeah.
the deal.
And
I
the
mean, I
endurance.
was fully 100% on, you know, the Taylor train when back in the day when she was a country singer. And then
Yeah.
it just, I don't know, I just kind of faded away. I am not denying that she is the biggest superstar in the world right now.
The
I mean, there's
GOAT.
no question. There's no question. It's just, you know, it's just not me. It's just not me.
I get it. That was my dad too. Here's
Yeah.
a little anecdote. My dad was fully on the country thing. When she left to do 1989 and wanted to do pop, he fell off with her, and then he just bought the vinyl for 1989. and he's called me like 5 million times saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I ever stopped listening. This is so good." He's like, "Why didn't anyone tell me about Blank Space?" I was like, "Dad, that song was #1 for like months. That is like her biggest song ever." But he wasn't aware.
Ralph.
But now he's exposed. I know. I was embarrassed. I don't even know if I should have said that. But at least it's come around, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
See, I have hope for you.
Okay. Well,
That's
I'll check it out. We'll
hilarious.
jump back in. Listen, I've got a car ride to Raleigh coming up this weekend. I'll blast it and see if I get back on the train.
Perfect.
Why did nobody tell me about one of the biggest songs of all time? That's great stuff from Ralph there.
Hey, he's focused. He's focused, all right?
Babysit, yeah.
He's
Jeez.
just focused on watching Liz get buckets. Liz, thank you for your time. Mac and I will both be in Charlotte to cover that Iowa Virginia Tech game. We cannot wait. So we appreciate you.
That's so exciting. Thanks for having me.
Gabby Marshall joining us here. Thank you so much for the time, Gabby. And, coming off an incredible year for the Hawkeyes, how has the offseason been for you guys? I know practice has begun. You're getting ready for the season. So what's been going on with Gabby and the Hawkeyes since the national title game?
Yeah, it's been a little busy. We've had a lot of media attention, which we're very grateful for. I think just the success we had last year brought a lot of coverage and fan support to our team. And I think the most awesome thing from the offseason was just the amount of people we got that came up to us and was like, "You brought us so much joy this season." Like they said that they've met people through our tournament run that they had never met before and stuff like that. So we kind of just brought a community together. And I think that's the most important part, just how much we made the fans happy. And we've gotten out in the community more and gotten to be firsthand and meet the fans. So, it's just been a great off season. Been a little busy, but it's been fun.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We're very grateful again for your time and joining us today. And, kind of everything you just said right there kind of sparked something for me, because I do think, that this is happening live. Like, as we're watching this right now, the sport of basketball, the game of basketball, you guys are growing it like crazy. This class of women's basketball right now, all these different teams, obviously Iowa kind of being at the center of that. Do you feel a little bit of a responsibility there? Is it a little bit of extra pressure just to perform and know that, hey, all eyes are literally on you guys and you're growing it at unprecedented rate right now?
Yeah, I think our coach talks a lot about pressure being a privilege. And we get to play on this. We have the opportunity to play in front of millions every day. We get national coverage. We're getting millions of people watching our national championship game. The numbers are just growing, and that's a privilege. And so having that pressure from last year's success, and now we have sold out season tickets for the whole year, and we're going to have a filled Carver Hawkeye Arena every single game, no matter who we're playing. That's what you want. That's what you want as a competitor. That's what you want as a women's basketball player. And I think we're going to get every team's best shot. We have a ton of good competition in the Big Ten alone and in the ACC and all the conferences. And I think that's just the games that you live for. You want those competitive, hard-fought games that are going to go all the way to the buzzer, and that's what the fans want to see.
That's well said, Gabby. Pressure is a privilege, and you guys are handling it really well. And we talked about this a little bit off air. We've got to hear more about this. You played in the coolest exhibition game of all time, I have to say, on October 15th in Kinnick Football Stadium, where Iowa plays football, versus DePaul. What was that experience like?
It was awesome. I think we talked a lot about how we are there every single weekend, participating in the stands, in the wave, seeing the team have the kid captain, and just being able to be a part of that. We got to use the football locker room. We had our own kid captain, and we got to do the wave after the first quarter, which was just so awesome. It puts in perspective how this game is just a sport that we get to play, and it's much bigger than basketball. All the money we raised went to the Children's Hospital, and just the impact that we can make on those kids up there, and allowing them to see us in person it was an awesome day. And obviously we broke the attendance record. There were so many people there and it was loud. We talked about how in Carver, sometimes we can't really hear the fans because we're just so focused, but I heard them in Kinnick.
I bet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And, just the support, the participation. I mean, it was loaded. It was loaded up to see that many people there just to watch you guys and to be a part of that. I know how special that is for you. Let's dive into that game just a little bit because I am fascinated. Number one is outside. Was wind a factor? You talked about how it's being
as
cold.
a shooter, I would not like the wind being a factor.
We're all shooters on this podcast right now, okay? So was sight lines different because it was this massive stadium? Just kind of walk through all of that craziness that maybe people don't really think about.
Yeah, I think we were supposed to practice the day before on the court in Kinnick, but just it was a little chilly and it was kind of sprinkling a little bit, so we weren't able to do that. So we really only had that an hour before the game. So it was, the depth perception was a little off. We had to get used to that a little bit. We were kind of all just like, hey, if we airball, we airball. I mean, it's for the experience. At least this game doesn't matter. So I mean, no, it was awesome. Obviously we knew it was going to be a little different than playing indoors, but I mean, it was so amazing. Fun. I mean, it was awesome.
It was for the kids. You could literally say it was for the kids. That's why you were doing it. Very cool. Okay, so let's kind of look ahead to this season. I mean, everybody knew how good Iowa was last year. You make the national title game. You make the Final Four. You solidify Iowa as a top program in women's hoops. What did it mean to make it that far for you guys? But then secondly, what kind of motivation do you take from that really tough loss to LSU in the national title?
Yeah, I think having the same starting five for 3 years, we've kind of been through all the highs and lows that basketball brings you together. I think we had the most games as the same starters in all of like the teams these past few years. I forget what the number was, but that's crazy. But I think just being able to have that run and make it to the national championship game for those girls and for these coaches who are just so deserving of that is the biggest thing. I mean, we put in so much work. We knew what it would take to get there. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, and I think just kind of that was the icing on the cake, and it was just a great ending to an amazing season. So, but I think you get there and you put your all into something and then you obviously lose the game. We kind of, instead of talking about that loss, we kind of talked about how like we lost well, if that makes sense. Like we were second, but we handled being second well. And you're gonna put your all into something in life. I mean, it's the same as in the sport. In the sport and in life, you're gonna give your all to something, and maybe you'll fail, but it's the way you bounce back. That's the most important thing. And I think we've kind of put our heads down and gotten to work this year. We haven't really dwelled on the good or the bad of last year, and that's what you have to do. I mean, seasons come and go. You have to move on, and I mean, we're really excited for this year.
That's amazing. I remember I was able and lucky enough to be at that Final Four game and just watch you guys. And I mean, just how well you played as a team and going against South Carolina, a team that a lot of people thought preseason was the favorite to win it all, and the challenges that they present, and just how you guys came together and really found a way and got to that natty. Something else I also noticed about that Final Four was anytime that Caitlin Clark touched the ball, everyone was on their feet, and people were thinking she's going to shoot it as soon as she crosses half court. And just the player, but also the person that she is. You obviously have a very unique perspective of seeing that every day. And when it's off camera, how was she as a competitor, as a leader, and ultimately as a teammate for you guys?
Yeah, I think fans see it every day. She's fiery, she's passionate, and I think that's what makes her so great. She has just this confidence about her that she never loses. She can miss 8 shots in a row, but she's shooting the next 10. And I admire that so much about her as a shooter myself. Like I struggle with that, but I mean, I've never seen or played with a person with as much confidence as her. And she just brings she brings all of us up with her. And I think that's what you have to do as the point guard of a team and the leader of the team on the court. And so, but I mean, off the court, she's just this goofy girl. I mean, she just loves the game. Like she loves going into practice with her teammates. She loves the coaches. I mean, it's just good to have just such a humble, just passionate player when she's the star of our team. I mean, she gets so much attention, but she wears her crown well.
I love that. Wears her crown well. That's well said. What's the craziest thing that you've seen her do in practice, or maybe just y'all in general? Like I have to imagine the shooting in an Iowa practice. I would love to just see it. It has to be unreal.
I would just say probably the logo threes, like just coming right across half court, just putting it up and knowing it's going in.
Yeah.
Or like some of the passes she makes in practice, which she does in games as well. I'm just like, wow, like this girl is really good.
Yeah.
When you play with
question.
Caitlin, you got to have your head on a swivel, right?
Oh,
You got to
yeah.
be ready
That's
at
right.
all times.
That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And I mean, just the way that she's so good at distributing the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
that was something that I don't think I truly appreciated until I saw it in person and kind of could see what she could see at the same time. Because, TV, it's a little limited. But just her court vision and how you guys just know that, hey, this ball could come to me at any moment. So how about this year and looking forward at this team? Like, how have you guys gotten better? You kind of touched on a little bit briefly about, channeling that national championship loss, but really having that front-facing, windshield mentality. So what can we expect from this team looking forward in this season?
I think, first of all, just everyone on this team, except for our one incoming freshman, was a part of last year's national championship team. So now they know what it takes. They know how to bring it in practice. We can't take any drill off, any game off. We're going to get every team's best shot. And so I think that helps going into this season, just in confidence and just knowing what it takes to get back to where we want to be. Yeah. But I think we talked a lot about how obviously we lost McKenna and Monica, but Hannah and Addie and Sharon, who will have to step up this year, like we always talk about, like they do not have to be Monica and McKenna. Like they can be their own person. They bring different skill sets to the team. And I think we've been working through some things and changing some things from last year. And I mean, it's looking good. We're looking good in practice.
Max, she's like, we're still really good. That's basically what you're saying, Gabbie, but you're too humble
preaching to the
say
choir. I already know that. I already know what time it is.
No one's doubting that. And another team that is still really good, I think, is Virginia Tech. And we are so excited for this matchup between you all and Virginia Tech, November 9th in Charlotte. Mac and I will both be there covering it for ACC Network, so we are pumped. We'll see you. We'll say hey, but I know you'll be locked in. What do you remember about Virginia Tech last year? You probably didn't really notice much maybe during the regular season. I felt like people undervalued Virginia Tech all year, frankly, and then they go and make this run. So what have you seen from the Hokies and what do you expect from this game?
Yeah, I didn't get to watch them I didn't get to watch them much during the year, but obviously we had to prepare for all the teams that were making it deep into the tournament. But I mean, they returned 3 of the starters, and obviously they have Georgia and Elizabeth, and they're great players. I mean, we had to lock down on them, but I think they're just an all-around great team. They share the ball well, and they work hard, and that's kind of really what I've noticed a lot about that team. And yes, I agree, they were undervalued, and they played great in the tournament. And I mean, they have great players. We have great players. It's going to be a game loaded with talent. Yeah. I'm glad it's going to be on the national stage, so the fans can get a great game. But I know we're just really excited.
Yeah,
those are the games that you want.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait to see it just as a fan, and then also to be there in a working capacity is going to be a ton of fun. Gabbie, I am interested in this. Do you talk trash on the court? Like, are you a big talker, or do you just kind of play and orchestrate?
I'm like the calm one, we have to kind of balance each other out. That's Caitlin and Kate. They can do that, but I'm like the one that's like, all right.
You keep everybody mellow. I understand.
That was me, Gabbie.
Now, girls, calm down.
I'm just going to let my game talk. The best way to talk trash is to go make 6 threes, right? I mean, that's the best way to talk. And you mentioned, Gabbie, we know we got to let you run. You probably have to go get some shots up after this, knowing you. But you mentioned the big stage. This game, the Ally tip-off, it's a big-time matchup on primetime TV in Charlotte. We've heard, Mac and I have been hearing the tickets are just going like crazy. They're going to have a limited edition court for this game. What does it mean to have this kind of high-profile matchup early in the season that's really focused on women's hoops?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like those are the games that you want. We talked a lot about how we kind of usually get like a few games under our belt before we play like a high caliber team, but this is like we're going right into it. But I mean, you don't want anything other than that. I've had so many people be like, I want to come to this game. Like, do you have tickets? Do you have tickets? I'm like, no, I don't have tickets. Like, there are so many people that are just looking forward to this game. And I mean, we're going to give them a show. Both teams are going to give them a show. It's going to be really fun.
No doubt. Well, Gabbie, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Excited to watch you guys all year long. Good luck this season.
Thank you.
Man, KG, that was awesome. Talking to these two women and just, we dove in a little bit more of some fun stuff off the field, off the court stuff with Liz Kitley there. Y'all's Taylor Swift, conversations were, you let me listen. And I was kind of like, all right, y'all, let's get it going. I will say this too. KG, you blessed me with a Taylor Swift playlist, kind of the bops, the hits, and some off the beaten path. And you're like, hey, just give it a shot. I'll say it was a little bit better than 50-50. It was kind of like every other song. I was like, okay, I like this. Okay, I like it. So, I'm learning. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there.
All right.
Okay.
You were down with Getaway Car.
Yeah.
Out of the Woods, Paper Rings,
right.
That kind of stuff.
Paper Rings actually slaps. That's a great song.
It does. It's a good one.
But we talked to two of the greatest players in the game on two of the best teams, and very insightful, I thought. Even for a casual fan like me, I thought that the insight that both these women provided was super fun. So let's start on the Iowa side, because obviously returning the best player in the world, just from Jump Street, KG, you being a shooter yourself and kind of being in that mind space offensively, how do you stop that, or how do you limit that and try to guard a player like Caitlin Clark?
Well, good luck. Let me preface this, Mac. When you say best player in the world, I'll say best player in the college game.
Oh, sure. Whatever.
Yeah,
that's
what
world.
You mean,
That's
right?
my world.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Chelsea
Asia
Gray,
Wilson's
these
a beast.
These women are balling. But okay, how do you stop her? You don't. Like you're not going to say we're going to hold Caitlin under 20. I mean, you're not. Just with what she does for Iowa, her usage, how much the ball's in her hand, you're not going to be able to do that. I think it's just how you contain her and make it really difficult for her. Honestly, LSU did a good job. First of all, they got her in foul trouble. I mean, if you can do that, that's obviously the way to go. But she generally doesn't get in foul trouble. There's some controversy over how that game was officiated, the national title game. It didn't seem like it was the best officiated game ever. But that's something you can do. And then the other thing too is Caitlin Clark will turn the ball over. Now, that's mainly because the ball's in her hands a lot. And so that happens. She had 6 turnovers in the national championship game, also had the 4 fouls. She had 30 points on 22 shots, hit 8 threes, because that's what she does. The other thing you can do to kind of try to limit her in some ways is you can't put her on the free throw line. You can't give her free points and let her get shots up when the clock is stopped and just continue to get into a rhythm. So there's some things that you have to really focus on. Kayla King, who is the defensive stopper for Virginia Tech, is going to be guarding her, at least start on her. And they're going to have to do a lot of different things to try to, I know Liz Kitley was saying something about they've been working on a bunch of different ball screen coverages because they do a lot of screening action with Caitlin Clark. But to me, the key is I would do everything possible to make her take. My goal on every possession would be, do not let her take a 3. Right. I would want her to do anything else. Let her get to the rim, whatever, pull up. But the way she really gets going is knocking down those 3s. And sometimes she pulls up from the logo. Sure. And I don't know what you're supposed to do about that. But possibly, foul trouble would be amazing for Virginia Tech. Yeah. Rattling her a little bit, make her have some turnovers, and just try to keep her off that 3-point line in any way you can, and don't put her on the free throw line. Yeah,
and I know I said this in the interviews, but one of the most impressive things to me about Caitlin, just because I knew she was a scorer, right? And you watch and you casually watch and you can see that. It's very evident. But the way that she can create, for other players and be a playmaker, her passing and vision is freaky. I mean, she is very comfortable as a distributor if she's not scoring, but she's just so good. She's going to do both. I love what you said there, because I was going to bring that up. Is the best defense for her an aggressive offense and forcing her into foul trouble, getting her tired, just whoever she's guarding, say, hey, you got to go. You got to drive. You have to step up and have that game. Do you think that is there a way that Iowa can protect her and hide her by guarding whoever? And B, is there a player that if they get the ball, can they still be comfortable with it being attacking, with knowing there's a lot of new girls out here for Virginia Tech?
I think you're right. Honestly, the way you attack Iowa is, I think, to run and gun and play fast, and that's what LSU did. That's exactly what LSU did. LSU scored 102 on Iowa, and LSU hit 11 threes and kind of beat Iowa at being
at their own game. Yeah.
And LSU had not made threes like that all year, but they knew they kind of had to, and they did. But a team that can make threes and can run and gun is Virginia Tech. That's why this game is so exciting and so fun. I think Caitlin Clark will probably guard Kayla King, who's guarding her, because I feel like Gabby Marshall will probably draw the role of guarding Georgia Amore, which is going to be a big task for Gabby. And we know Georgia Amore had, if Caitlin Clark had the best March, Georgia Amore probably had the second best March. And you can throw Angel Reese in there too, of course. So going after her on the defensive end is what you want to do for sure. And Kayla King, that's a key for me with Virginia Tech for the whole season, is Kayla King needs to be a little more aggressive. Right. She's got to be a double-figure scorer for them. She's been around 9 points per game, and she's an exceptional shooter, but I think she's got to be more aggressive. And if Clark is on her, that's a perfect excuse to just be more aggressive and kind of hunt your shot more and try to attack the rim. So that's what you can do. But Mac, I preface this all by you can attempt, right? Like Caitlin Clark is so good. Yeah. And she seems to thrive in these primetime, bright light situations.
Yeah.
So she is going to be ready to go. I think what's going to be interesting, Mac, to me, I also think Liz Kitley is going to get hers because they lose Zinano, Iowa does. They have O'Grady, who's a young player who only played like 5 minutes per game last year, who's going to draw that task. I think it's going to be who shows up around these stars. That's going to be what decides this game for me.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that. I want to touch on that in a second, a little bit more, but want to go back to kind of big picture and the moment of this game. And, you know, in the intro, you kind of took a little air out of it. I want you to put the air back into it. How important is a game of this stature, you know, just for all of women's basketball and to have this moment playing in an NBA arena, you know, in not a standalone game, but a very important game where, you know, all eyes are going to be on Iowa and Virginia Tech.
It is really big. And I love what Ally and the Charlotte Sports Foundation, we've worked with the Charlotte Sports Foundation. They're great people. What they're doing for this game, the custom court is awesome. The payouts for the teams we've both heard are very, very high level. We'll just put it that way. The swag bags and just the treatment of these players, it's elite. This is a massive event. We've also heard that tickets have been going like crazy.
Can confirm.
The Spectrum Center, yes. The Spectrum Center is going to be packed. It's an 8 p.m. game on a Thursday. And, you know, we do this with men's basketball. We do the Champions Classic with Michigan State and Kansas and Duke and Kentucky, and they try to draw some viewers during during football season, because football still runs the world. And I think they're trying to do this with South Carolina, Notre Dame, but also this game, Iowa, Virginia Tech, draw some of those viewers and get some excitement early in November around basketball season. And that's what this game will do, because Caitlin Clark is, she's one of the biggest sports stars in the country.
Yeah,
for sure. Anybody that has the power, and a lot of this was also LSU, do not get me wrong, but at least was a big contributor, Caitlin Clark was, to getting 10 million people to view your national title game.
In a non-primetime spot, by the way.
Yes. This is the next time since that national title game that Caitlin Clark will be on national television in prime time. So what kind of viewers can this game draw? I think that's also going to be really, really interesting. And Virginia Tech is starting to solidify itself as a team that needs to be respected as not just a national power that can get to a Final Four, but also a team that can draw viewers. So I think I'm excited to see the ratings for this game, to be honest, Matt.
Yeah. A couple more for you, KG, because I am so interested in this matchup and just the way that, you know, each team's going to dive into it. Now, we know that both are losing a couple of starters. It sounded like Virginia Tech, just the way Liz said, I'm not saying she's concerned, but it did sound like it's just a lot of turnover, and they're having to figure it out from a whole team perspective. But you kind of mentioned this, and before I ask you about, you know, who has more question marks, who has the better number two? I think it's relatively obvious, but maybe it's not. Who has the best, you know, complementary piece, or even, you know, A-B type situation, A1, A2 situation of scorer, distributor, playmaker, Iowa or Virginia Tech?
Yeah, I think you've got to say it's Virginia Tech with Georgia Amore.
Yeah.
Georgia Amore, preseason honorable mention All-American, I believe, was the MVP of the ACC tournament, the MVP of the Seattle 3 region, was unreal shooting the ball. I mean, she was, without her, they do not get to a Final Four. That is for sure. And I'm not sure you can say that about anybody else on Iowa's team except Caitlin Clark, maybe Zinano, but was from last
Yeah,
year.
she's gone.
The
Yeah.
second best player for Iowa is Kate Martin, who's been really, really good for Iowa. Gabby Marshall's also been good. They lose McKenna Warnock too, in addition to Zanano. So Virginia Tech for sure has the best number 2. I think that's not really an argument.
So is it
can
fair
Georgia
to also
Amor-
say though? Right. Go ahead. My bad.
Well, my question with Georgia is just she had a good year heading into March, and then she was great. So can she continue that? Right? You have to take what you did in March and continue to be elite.
Right. No questions. But with that, do you feel like does Virginia Tech have more questions? Like they might have the 2, best or the second and third best answer, but do they have more questions on the back end?
Yes, simply because Iowa did not go to the portal. Iowa took Stolke and O'Grady from their roster and kind of brought them up into starting roles. And Virginia Tech went to the portal. Virginia Tech only has 3 players returning that actually played on last year's team. And that's their big 3 in Kitley, Georgia, and Kayla King. So Rose Mishaw is a transfer from Minnesota. She's going to play that 4 spot, kind of try to take that Taylor Soule role. And then Matilda Eck, is a really good shooter, has some more size than Kiana Traylor did. So I think that's going to be their starting 5. They brought Sumiel from Wake Forest, a transfer, and then they have like 6 freshmen, Virginia Tech does. So if they get in foul trouble and they got to play one of those freshmen early in this game, that's a lot to be asking. And neither of these teams have a ton of depth. Both of these teams want to play about 6 or 7 players. So foul trouble could be a huge factor in this game, Mac. But I do think Virginia Tech has a few more questions because of these transfers and just to see how they're all going to play together so early in the season.
Right. Hey, young freshman. Yeah, you got 22. She's open when she walks inbounds. She walks in when she walks inbounds. So look out. Hopefully it doesn't. We'll see. All right, last one, and we'll get out of here, KG. Major key for each team. How does X team win because of what?
So I mentioned this already for Iowa. I think O'Grady and what she's able to do against Liz Kitley is huge. Yeah. If Iowa still had Zanano and it was Zanano versus Kitley, you've got 2 players that are just absolute vets, and that would be a great battle, but it'd be relatively even. She played 6 minutes per game last year, O'Grady did. So you're going up against a 2-time ACC Player of the Year. How does that matchup go? I think that's my key for Iowa. How can they slow down Kitley with such a young player? And then for Virginia Tech, you have to limit Iowa to one and done.
Yeah.
You cannot give Iowa second chances. Mac, the best time to shoot a 3 is off an offensive rebound. You know this, my friend. And also in transition, which Iowa loves to do. Iowa only had 7 offensive boards against LSU. And to me, that was one of the reasons why LSU won. There were a lot of reasons, but that was a big one. LSU was great on the glass. So I think rebounding is going to be big. If Caitlin Clark launches a 3 and for some reason she misses, you have to grab the rebound and keep Iowa off the offensive glass. So those are my 2 keys, Mac. I'll give you a prediction. It's so early in the year, and I haven't seen these 2 teams play their first games, which I really want to see before I give my prediction, but I don't have that luxury. So I will give my prediction, but I want to hear yours. I
go first. Well, I do want to start with transition 3, the best shot in all of basketball, and such
and the best feeling too. Right?
Oh my gosh! And it's a backbreaker. I mean, you see that you're running a gun and then pull up, bang. Shout out to Coach Carter. The first time I ever saw that.
Layup, but I'm going to
stop
pull
right
up
here
because I'm that confident.
That's
right.
Oh,
I love it.
That's right. So love to see that. And here's the deal. I think that when you have a big as impactful as Liz Kitley, who's expanding her game, she told us, hey, look out. You might see a couple more fadeaways from a little farther away. I think that you can try to manipulate the game. I think you can try to slow it down on top of that lack of offensive rebounds and really try to limit that. I think the Hokies are physical.
Ooh.
I think that they build off of what they had to do last year to make this type of run. You and Liz talked about it a bunch. Physicality is going to be key.
Yeah.
How do you beat shooters? You get in their face. You bump them. You don't let them feel like they can just catch and shoot. I think the Hokies make some noise here and win a relatively low scoring, not quite. I think high 70s, I think is where this game is going to be. High 70s. I think Liz Kitley's the MVP and they get the dub.
So it's funny that you say that. I think this game is probably going to be played in the 70s, maybe low 80s. I don't think anyone's scoring 100 like LSU did.
Right.
And that's pretty high scoring in general
Sure.
for women's hoops. And this game is going to be very back and forth, very offensive minded, which we love. I mean, that's what we're here for. Mac, I don't want us to look like homers and both pick Virginia Tech.
That's fine. I'm
And
glad I got to go
love this
first.
I love this big three for Virginia Tech. I've got some questions about the other parts. Caitlin Clark is such a weapon. I think Virginia Tech can lose this game and be completely fine and still make a run to the Final Four.
Sure.
And this is game 2 for them with all these new pieces. So I think Iowa wins. I think Iowa wins 75-70, something like that. But I think both teams look really good. It's just kind of the big question. You can't limit Caitlin Clark.
Right.
Can you contain her enough?
Sure.
And how do these transfers look for Virginia Tech? I just don't know.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to get from Iowa. I know the system. And I at least know that those certain players are going to fit into their system. So I think Iowa wins, but I think it is an epic basketball game.
Can't wait to see it. It's going to be so much fun. Give me 40 plus from our girl Caitlin Clark. Give me 30 in the dub for Liz Kitley, and I'll be a very happy man.
Okay.
We'll be there in person. It's going to be super fun coverage. You guys have to tune in. ACC Network will be chopping it up all pregame with ACC PM, and then, of course, after the game, we'll do a little all-ACC with Gramlich and Mac Lane plus Riggs. We're going to make it happen out on that court. It's going to be so much fun. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Super fun episode. Huge shout-out to Virginia Tech. Huge shout-out to Iowa for Gabby and Liz for joining us, and it was so much fun. And also appreciate you guys over on YouTube watching this. We continue to have your support there. Subscribe, leave some comments, jump in the chat. And then, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that as well. But until next time, we'll see y'all.